Good morning. Today is April the 8th of 2012. Spring has sprung. It's time for new growth. So, as is appropriate, we're going to begin a new series for this month, that of Reconstruction. This is a spiritual series for the three-part Art of Living octave. We started with deconstruction. Then, with the space that we created, we moved to observation. And now, from that space, we're going to move to a place of reconstruction. The very first step in reconstructing is self-acknowledgement. The purpose for the space that we created in the act of deconstruction was to strip away the layers of what we were not, so we could get to an authentic representation of what we are. The very first step of acknowledgement, self-acknowledgement, is the acknowledgement of the vessel that you are. The vessel for consciousness. And that's sort of the body concept for this topic of self-acknowledgement. Each one of us is a vessel that houses, let's talk about just in the physical sense, millions of life forms, from bacteria to different forms of symbiotic life forms that coincide within the human organism, including all of our cells, which live their own lives. They respirate, they have thoughts, emotions, drive, they have a specific timeline, and they're all striving for something. We act as sort of a vessel that allows them to act within the confines of a community. Just like our planet is exactly the right conditions for us to live and experience the lifespan that we act as a planet that has exactly the right conditions for all of the other symbiotic life forms that make up who we are to experience their life form in optimal conditions. See, the acknowledgement of that vessel also acknowledges sort of your responsibility within that. It's not to control that environment, it's to nurture that environment, to make sure that it's at its optimum. So all of, not only the self that is the collective, but the self that is the individual that makes up who you are within the nature of your vessel gets precisely what it sets out to get, which is the optimum capacity for experience. And what you would get in return is your optimum capacity for experience. See, that's the relationship between the two. It's an appreciative relationship. One that once you acknowledge your vessel and you take steps to then nurture the growth of your vessel then takes steps to appreciate, show its appreciation for that nurturing by providing you and also showing you what would be the most appreciative investment of your time to get the experiences that you're looking for. Once we moved into the reconstruction topic, it's time for us to put to death sort of the philosophical understandings and start working on, the art of living itself. What it means to be art that is living. The first one is the vessel. The second one is the value, and this is the mind concept for this topic. When I speak of appreciative investment, what I'm speaking of is in essence a value assignment, but one that is based on individual perception. The reason why we spent so much time destructing value assignments that we hold previous to coming awake is because most of those value assignments were given to us. We were given a concept of right and wrong, of appreciative and unappreciative, of good and bad. However, such things can be useful in determining that which you desire as an individual, which will bring you closer to your essence. I described previously that wants are our mind's way of communicating that which it perceives it lacks. Now, placing a value assignment on such a thing, it's useful because of the fact that it kind of lets you know where you are, who you are, by what you seek. The values that we then are able to come to an equilibrium with are those that allow us to get closer to who we are without confining the definition. Here's what I mean. At present, I find physical activity to be a valuable part of my life. I find that it gives me a method of balancing and harmonizing my energetic system, getting rid of any excess, and also being in a very calm, peaceful state that allows me to move through my life with the most optimal amount of presence and clarity. I find that value assignment through the interaction that I have with that experience. However, I don't hold on to it. The moment that that stops becoming true, that value assignment will go. Because a value assignment does not dictate the action. The action, the substance of what is, dictates the value that I assign to it. Do you understand what I mean? That's why this octave, this very first portion is about the acknowledgement of self. Because all threaded throughout this is the understanding that it's myself, my individual experience, that matters the most in this lifetime. I am the epicenter of consciousness within the vortex that is my reality. I don't mean that in the self-centered version where I'm saying, oh, it's all about me. No. It all is me. That's what it's about. Do you understand the difference? It's a subtle dissension, but it's the truth of it. Each one of us has never stopped being the void. We've then never stopped being the prime creation, and all of the variation and forms that the prime creation has taken. We never stopped being those things. However, we crafted a buffer between ourselves and the collective version of ourself, in order that we could experience an individual point of consciousness and identify with it so intensely that we get the most sensation out of that experience. That vessel, the vehicle for that, is called the ego. And this actually belongs very specifically in the mind portion of values, because we've distorted the value concept for the ego. We've misrepresented what it is. First of all, we believe that it's some sort of demonic possession that resides within us that we have to overcome in order to get to ourself. It's nonsense. The ego is, in fact, a distilled representation of the individual point of consciousness that represents the self. It's an illusionary construct, but once acknowledged, you can see the mastery of its illusion. It allows you sort of the distance necessary to be one that is a part of the oneness. Do you understand what I mean? And then can contribute something unique as an individual. There is an innate grandeur to the understanding of individual divinity. Once you understand it also comes with an intrinsic responsibility to find out the use of having divinity, the purpose of such a thing, and your purpose within the overall purpose of being a creator, which is the purpose of divinity. That's the spirit concept for self-acknowledgement, purpose. See, the act of deconstruction got you to the point of being newborn, of dying in essence, and then coming back into a reincarnation within this lifetime. Make no mistake, you've reincarnated many times, body, mind, and spirit, within this individual lifetime. The acts of observation allowed you to strip away anything that was collected to you that wasn't in fact you, and then acknowledge when it departed the space that was there. What you were acknowledging when that space was created is self. Is self. Once you've acknowledged yourself, what arises from that is kind of this. Alright, there I am. Why am I here? Do you understand that in the last topic we discussed the 5 questions? Who am I? Why am I here? What do I seek? Why do I seek it? And what am I willing to give to get it? We're working our way through those questions, and at the end, you'll be able to see that intrinsically there's an answer that's provided for each one of us within each. But now we're at the first portion. I've showed you the steps necessary to get to the point where you could acknowledge truthfully, with your own resonant definition, who am I? The second portion is, why am I here? That's your purpose. That's what you're seeking through the understanding, the acknowledgement of self. You say, hey, there I am. Now why am I here? Why am I here in this moment? Why am I listening to this person most likely I've never met? What am I here to do with the knowledge that I'm consuming? People perceive that knowledge as power, but that's wrong. It's false. If that was so, then the academics would be the most powerful people in the world. They're not. The reason why we keep such flawed statements going is because they act as a conscious distraction. Knowledge is not power. Truly, knowledge is just knowledge. Power is power. Knowing how to apply knowledge in a way that adds value to your life is a powerful tool, but it is a simple tool. Do you understand that? Knowledge being equal, it's just information. Understanding what you can do with knowledge once you have it is the key. Once you find your purpose, and you find it simply by asking the most obvious question possible, always the most obvious question possible, and waiting for the answer to arrive organically. Do not provide the answer. Say, what am I here to do? And then just wait. This brings us to the totality concept of self-acknowledgement. We exist in a vortex of information. That information has taken the appearance of light and is guided by sound. Everything that we're discussing right now exists as information that is packaged in sound. It's couched in a light image that I call a picture. The light image is communicating one thing. The sound that I'm emitting is communicating another. The vessel that is you is consuming the sounds that I'm making and the light that I'm displaying. And from that, you're decoding the information and personalizing it. If it wasn't for the unique vessel of self, you would not be able to do such a thing, nor would you be able to then perceive, man, I just gained a bunch of information that is of value to me because XYZ, and I can apply it this way. See, the understanding of self is the understanding of the responsibility of the individual. Most often what acts as the depreciator of the life is what I call the burden of divinity. Of the understanding that we are as divine as is possible. There is nothing that has existed, does exist, or will ever exist that is not us. That means every single concept of God that we've ever created has never stopped being us. Or more specifically, we've never stopped being it. Do you understand what that means? It means that you are responsible for the creation of all existence, including crafting your own life. That comes as a burden to those who haven't come to understanding. That's a wonderful concept. It means that the existence that you crafted is just that, a crafted existence, not one that you need to be burdened by in the first place. It's a wonderful, grand play that we've set up massive sets and scenes and scenarios that we could infuse ourselves into as characters in that play and go through it the way they would. Understand the game as a game and gain the most by it by forgetting it's a game before we start playing it. Do you understand that? Each one of us are God. Our God. Not our gods. Our God. The concept of all that is. And that is only the very first egoic representation of identity. What we truly are is that which watches God. The observer. The stillness. The space. When you can be the space within yourself, and then you can occupy the epicenter of that existence where yourself resides, you are at your most powerful. Be powerful.